You know, there are a lot of bad people in anime. Just a lot of people who do horrible, irredeemable things. But that's not everybody. In fact, I'd like to think that there are a lot of people in anime who do their hardest to make themselves better. They realize their wrongdoings, do their best to fix everything, and overall just become better people in the end. And I think Yu-Gi-Oh! Is a really good example of that. Now at this point, some of you might be expecting me to talk about GX, but not this time. GX gets a break. Overall, I want to talk about my favorite Yu-Gi-Oh! Series, 5Ds, and one of the best redemptions it ever did in the Crashtown arc. Yeah, I know, Jack had some pretty good redemption, but this time we're talking about the Crashtown arc. Let's get into it. The arc starts off pretty interestingly. Yusei gets a note from somebody saying that he needs to rescue his friend from Crashtown. His friend ends up being Kalin Kessler, at least that's what they call him in the dub. For those of you who don't remember Callan, he was one of the Dark Signers in, well, the Dark Signers arc. Duh. Before that, though, he was a friend of Yusei, Jack, and Crow's. They were the Enforcers together. They tried to stop a bunch of different security guards. Only problem is, Callan was willing to hurt innocent people. He ends up getting arrested and thinks the guy sold him out, and he ends up getting taken away by security and being tortured in prison. Are we sure the security are the good guys in this story, or in real life? He ended up becoming a Dark Signer and basically getting brainwashed, but Yusei ends up beating him, Callan apologizes for everything, and basically gets freed. But what's he doing in Crashtown? Well, he's given up. At this point, Callan basically wants to die. He feels he doesn't deserve any form of love or happiness thanks to all that he's done, and you can kind of understand why. As a Dark Signer, he hurt a lot of people, and even before that, he hurt a lot of people who probably didn't deserve it. So it makes sense that he feels guilty about it. He ends up in a gang of duelists who end up sending people to the mines in the town. Yeah, Crashtown is basically if duel monsters and cowboys basically fused into one. The woman who sends Yusei the letter, named Barbara, tells him that this is how things are done in this town. There are duels at dawn, and whoever loses gets sent to the mines to work. And there are two warring gangs, and she recommends that Yusei join one of the gangs to save Callan. Yusei ends up joining the opposing gang run by someone named Malcolm, and he tries to duel 3 of the henchmen at once, and I'm sorry, what does he say right before the duel starts?
Get your game on!
Okay, that's a little on the odd side, but you know what? It's fine. Wait, hold on.
I guess I'm up! And Fuse Ray Blaster's the monster I'll be playing!
That's what one of the henchmen sounds like? Okay, so they got Jaden and Professor Crowler writing this episode, I guess. Okay. He ends up beating all of them relatively easily with a cool combo, and joins the gang. And it's been said that he and Callan are going to face off as soon as possible. Also, the 4Kids version has everyone drinking milk, and some people are clearly drunk off of it. I really didn't have anywhere else to put it, nor did it matter whether I pointed it out or not, I just felt like sharing. I know in some cases they technically call it cactus cider in the dub, but milk just makes more sense, especially since it's Yusei's favorite drink. But before the duel, we see a kid named Wes who really looks up to Callan for being so strong and cool, but Callan basically tells him that he needs a new role model. Callan's very hard on himself this arc. Anyways, Callan and Yusei have their duel, and overall it's a really fun duel. But Callan ends up losing in the end, even with Yusei trying everything in his power to save his friend again. Callan ends up getting taken away, but right before Yusei and Barb are able to save him, Barb ends up turning on Yusei, and they both end up getting sent to the mines. Yes, as it turns out, Barb was actually working with Malcolm the whole time, and thanks to Yusei, both Callan and his boss are headed to the mines alongside him. But it's not just Barbara and Malcolm. Another man named Lawton, who's Malcolm's younger brother, ends up taking over too, and they all run the town together while Yusei and Callan are sent to the mines. While most people would fret in situations like this, Yusei immediately finds a way to get the collar off of him, and ends up trying to get Callan to escape alongside him, but Callan won't budge. It's moments like this where we realize that Callan really can't forgive himself for everything. There's so much darkness in his heart, and in the end, he feels he deserves this. While Yusei keeps trying to look for a way out, though, West, the kid from earlier, and Nico, his older sister, actually find Yusei's runner and end up taking it toward the mines. After a little more time has passed, Yusei ends up finding an exit, and he tells Callan to come with him, but Callan still won't budge after everything. So Yusei does the responsible thing, punches his friend in the gut to knock him out and drags him towards the exit. 5Ds is really different from other series. The kids from before show up and persuade Yusei and Callan to try and escape. It goes well until they run into Lawton, and Lawton duels Yusei while Callan escapes with the kids. It's a pretty good back and forth duel, despite the fact that Lawton's a cheater with that ogre combo. Seriously, I really hope those cards never get released. Or maybe they already have. I don't follow the card games. While escaping, the kids point out just how much Callan has influenced them. They've been through a lot, and seeing Callan continue to fight despite everything is what gives them courage. Eventually, they end up finding their dad, and Callan punches a lot more people. Like, a lot. It's times like this where you really start to wonder how different the series would be if the card games were more of an afterthought. Let's best not to think about it. While being chased off, the dad, named Jordan, ends up sacrificing himself for his kids and Callan to get out. And then he falls to his death? Okay, I know 5Ds is a darker series, but good God. After that, Callan ends up punching more people and tells the kids to be strong. But once he realizes that's not exactly working, he comforts them and does his best to protect them. They reunite with Yusei, but Lawton ends up blowing up the cave they're in, and Callan and Yusei get split up from the kids. The kids end up getting taken back to town and turned into hostages, but Callan and Yusei decide to stand together and keep fighting, thanks to a speech from Yusei. It's at this point we see just how much Callan has been affected by Yusei and the kids. Before, he was just dark and sad, but thanks to everyone else, he's grown to want to protect the people around him, rather than just wanting to die on his own. But at the town, things aren't going so great either. As it turns out, Malcolm signed the deed of the town over to Barbara. Barbara, who was actually married to Lawton. Yeah, there's a lot of backstabbing in this arc. But Yusei and Callan show up to save the day, and they both team up against Lawton. This time, Callan actually dueling to win, which is exactly why his life points fall to 0 within the very first turn. Wow, that was way too fast. But it's okay, because Callan has a card that lets him keep dueling even though he has 0 life points. That's so ridiculous, but it's so cool. Just please don't release that card in real life. I've talked about it a little bit before, but it's kind of awesome to see Callan's deck in action. The deck he uses, the Infernity cards, are very powerful if you have no cards in your hand. And I love that strategy he implements, especially when we first meet him when he's an Enforcer. His strategy is to have as many cards in his hand as possible, so it's nice to see that he's changed after all this time. Especially awesome since once he was brainwashed, he began using the Infernity cards, but now that he's a good guy again, he still uses them. It's pretty awesome for those cards too. It ends up being a really good duel, and right as it looks like Callan and Yusei are about to win, Barbara threatens the kids and plays dirty. The rest of the gang feel this is going too far, so they stand up to them only to get shocked with electric guns. You know, at this point in my Yu-Gi-Oh tenure, they really shouldn't be able to surprise me, and that's not much of a surprising thing to do, but it just sounds weird. But faster than you can say Maka Chop, Crow and Jack show up to save the day. Jack even pushes Barbara off the kids, defending them. Ah yes, famous gender equality advocates. Kazuma from Konosuba, Hidenori from Daily Lives of High School Boys, and Jack Atlas. Lawton tries to escape, and Callan receives the ultimate honor of using Yusei's runner, and he finally catches up to Lawton. Now, in the Japanese version, they finish the duel, but in the English version, Callan calls out Lawton for being a sellout and a coward, and the duel ends there. Yeah, Lawton basically goes down like a coward in the dub, which I actually kind of respect. I don't always love when 4Kids changes stuff, but I was okay with it this time. They even changed the fact that the kid's dad actually doesn't die. He's injured, but he's still okay, at least in the dub. In the sub, they keep him dead. The Enforcers reunite, and we get this awesome moment where all of them are talking, and they basically find their way to forgive Callan, and for Callan to even forgive himself. It's a really cool moment because Callan really deserved it. Compared to most characters when they go through redemptions, Callan actually felt remorseful. He actually wanted to redeem himself. He just didn't want to do it in the best way. Anyways, everyone from the mines gets freed, Lawton and Barbara get arrested, and everybody who decides to change sides actually stays in the town and decides to rebuild it. And in the sub, they call it Satisfaction Town. Oh, that's right. In the sub, the Enforcers are called Team Satisfaction. Once again, I'll side with 4Kids over that. The rest of the gang leaves, but Callan decides to stay behind and help with the town, and look after the kids while their dad recovers. And that's how the arc ends. Oh, and one last thing, apparently there's a shop in this town called the Classy Ass. Normally I'd have a pun or something weird to say, but I got nothing. They stumped me on that. Overall though, when it's all said and done, the Crashtown arc is one of my favorite Yu-Gi-Oh arcs. It doesn't drag on for too long, it features a great moment of redemption for Callan, and it shows the Enforcers really working together and really demonstrates why they're all friends. It is kind of sad that we don't see Callan too much or at all after this, but in the end they gave him a really good send-off and closure to his character, so I'm okay with that. Sometimes it's better to just leave something alone rather than to drag it out for too long.
What the hell is even that?
And the crazy thing is, this arc is basically filler. A while ago when I talked about the Black Clover Devil Banishers arc, somebody said that I really shouldn't care that much because it's simply filler. Filler isn't necessarily meant to be good or bad, and with all due respect, that's insane. You can tell very compelling content even if it's filler. Filler can be really interesting if done right. It can be really fun and entertaining. It doesn't have to be bad just because it's not that important to the story, and that's where this arc shines. It's filler, but it doesn't really feel like it, and it's a fun ride from start to finish. But what do you guys think of this arc? Did you think it was overrated, underrated? Did my review help change your minds at all? And what are some of your favorite filler arcs in anime? Doesn't have to be Yu-Gi-Oh! Doesn't have to be anything super important. Just let me know. That's the point of filler. Also, once again, thank you guys so much because we finally surpassed 1,000 subscribers. I have no idea what happens next, but I guarantee you we'll be getting more Yu-Gi-Oh! Content out as soon as we can. But it's not going to be the only stuff we have coming out. Maybe some other stuff. What stuff in particular? Well, you'll just have to stay tuned and find out. Be sure to like, comment, subscribe, and all that other nonsense, and I'll see you next time. This is Alex of Anime Egotists saying, please be sure to drink cactus cider responsibly.